All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another module of Agency Incubator. Today, we are boiling the business model back down to its fundamentals, and we're just gonna get into, start easing into some more technical stuff in this video. So let's get straight into it. I'm excited for this one. So, understanding the business model. In today's teaching, we're gonna go over how agency services boil down to its core, understanding your client's finances, the different approaches to running an agency, what success looks like as an agency owner, what success doesn't look like as an agency owner, crunching the numbers, and your journey to seven figures. And lastly, the two monastic focuses that you need to really put emphasis on throughout this journey. Now, agency services, put simply, you are a service-based business. It's nothing revolutionary. It's no trick, no hack. Service-based businesses have been around for hundreds, probably even thousands of years, right? Just take a look at a law firm, right? When someone has a legal issue that they're facing, they pay for the services of a lawyer from a law firm. All right, that's an example of a service-based business. Another service-based business is a cleaning company. You see, when someone needs help with cleaning, they'll get a cleaner from a cleaning company. Once again, a service-based business. Now, when someone needs help with marketing, they go to a marketing agency. But the thing that I think trips up a lot of people, or a lot of people don't understand, is different services get compensated differently. For example, if you've got a cleaner coming in twice a week, you might only need to 8 times a month basically to clean. And for example, this isn't something that really applies to you, but for a business owner with an office, we're really looking at it, the business owner's perspective right now. They might pay on average $400 a month or $300 a month for a cleaner to come in for 3-4 hours once a week or something like that, or twice a week, right? Now, conversely, they might pay an accountant $400 a month to manage their books, sort of file their taxes, stuff like that. This isn't a tax advisor. This is just an accountant, all right? So, as you can see, they're paying $300 a month for a cleaner, $400 a month for an accountant. If they have a web team, they might pay $500 a month just to make sure the website is running smoothly, et cetera, et cetera. And, these are sort of average prices. Whereas for marketing services, they might pay $4,500 a month on average. Now you might sign a client for $1,000 a month, and there are people signing clients for $16,000 a month, right? There's a full spectrum, but we found on average in the community, people are signing clients for, I'd say $3,500. We've got people signing, $1,500 a month, $2,500 a month clients, and this is purely service fee. And then we've got lots of people signing 6, 8, 10, sometimes even $15,000 a month service fee. So the point that I'm trying to make here is, you might be wondering, Eman, why can we charge so much more than someone who's doing the web development, or an accountant can, or a cleaner can? I just don't understand it. And this might be one of the sort of limiting beliefs, or one of the things that you had a tough time wrapping your head around when you got into this process. Is you might be wondering, I hear you say, you can charge $1,000 or $3,000 or $5,500 a month for marketing services, but why? And that's really what I want to get into in this module right here. You see, so why do accountants, web teams, and most employees get paid less than us on average? And this is why: value. The value that we bring these business owners. You see, business owners assess the value you bring them. And if you can help them get more customers and leads, you are literally solving their number one biggest problem. You see, I've got this little chart up here, and you can see the top reasons small businesses fail. And we'll start from the bottom. 19% are outcompeted. 23% don't have the right team. 29% run out of cash. 42% no market need for product or services, and 82% simply experience cash flow problems. Now, we can't really help them, have the right team, or if they don't have a market need, if they don't have the right market fit or whatever, we can't really help them there. But we can make sure that they don't get outcompeted, right? We help them in this area. We make sure that they don't get outcompeted by making sure that their marketing is better than everyone else in their city or their country, or in the entire world, right? We're making sure that we take their marketing to another level so that way their competitors can't even come close. The next thing is run out of cash. Running out of cash basically means that they have more expenses than they do revenue. Okay? And if we can help bring in more leads, more customers, that basically means that we are increasing their revenue. And when you have more revenue than you do expenses, that means that you are a profitable business. So that's really what we're helping them do. And the next thing is 82% experience cash flow problems. Very similar to 29 run out of cash. Cash flow, positive cash flow basically means you make more money than you spend. Negative cash flow basically means that you spend more money than you make, aka your expenses are higher than your revenue. All right, and when we can help them bring in more, when we can help bring more eyeballs to their business, more leads to their business, and potentially more customers. Once again, it depends on what service and what niche you are offering, and we're going to get into this later. When you can help them do that, you are going to be a part of the reason that they're experiencing positive cash flow and hopefully very, very positive cash flow. So the problem that they're facing is they want more leads and customers because they want to make more revenue, which in turn usually leads to more profit. Now the severity, right? Talking a little bit about the severity of the situation, this is the biggest problem pestering them. It is literally keeping them up at night and ringing in their ears. This is the most important problem that they can fix in their business. And the solution is, quite frankly, you. They need you. If you can convey the value clearly enough, show them that this is the only path to getting to their desired outcome, and show them why it's an absolute no-brainer, they're all yours. Okay? Now, you might be wondering, but Iman, why don't they just hire a full-time employee for the price they pay me? Well, let me compare the two. So we have employee on the left here. An employee, the average salary, or not average, but pretty much a minimum sort of salary, from a lower level marketing employee will be $3,000 to $5,000 per month salary. Now, the issue with that is it'll usually cost the owner $4,500 to $7,000 per month because they have to pay payroll tax, they have to pay insurance. That person usually takes up a spot in their office. Sometimes they might need to buy them equipment, new computer, etc., etc. So, although they're paying that person $3,000 to $5,000 a month, in all, when you actually take in everything into consideration, it's actually closer to $4,500 to $700. $4,500 to $7,000 per month with all taxes, insurance, etc., etc. And it is also difficult and annoying to fire that person, right? It's a lot harder to let go of an employee than it is basically just to let an agency know, hey, we're giving you our 30-day notice. We'd like to, stop the contract. And for that money, for $4,500 to $7,000 per month, they're just getting one person. Whereas with an agency, you'll be charging them anywhere from $1,000 to literally over $10,000 per month with no hidden costs, right? That is your service fee, and there's no hidden cost. If you're running advertising for them, which is very, very common in this program, that's what I do for my clients. I will tell my clients it is, $6,000 per month plus service fee, plus ad spend. All right. So once again, there's no hidden costs. I'm telling them my service fee plus ad spend, and they can choose the ad spend based on the results we're getting. They can also end the contract with 30-day notice. Now, you'll find out a little bit more as we go through this course. All of you guys will be signing clients with 3-month minimums. All right, so that means they have to stay with you for 3 months, 90 days. And after that, if they want to, end the contract, terminate the contract, no worries. They just give you 30 days notice, and that's it. And for the money, they're getting 1 to 5 experts. Now, to give you a bit of context with my own agency, my own agency, or at least at the time of recording this, clocks in on average around $40,000 to $45,000 a month profit. And it's just me and one employee. And we have, me, one employee, and we also have Kieran, who's the product manager for Grow Your Agency. He also helps out with the agency. He's the product manager for GrowYourAgency.com. He also helps out with IAG Media. Now, technically, that's me and 2 employees when, in fact, it's more along the lines of 1 employee. So, don't think you need to have, a team of 1 to 5 experts, but it is true, for the same price that some of my clients pay me, or for the same price that they could get, just one mediocre employee, they get me as well as Danny, Kieran. So they're basically getting a team of 3 experts where, if you tried to hire us on our own, as a job, with me, you couldn't even hire me. And, with the rest of my team, they'd be demanding very, very high salaries at this point after gaining all this expertise. And the best part for most business owners is just the fact that it's away from site and it's just handled, right? Most business owners like the fact that, the marketing, it can be out of sight and outsourced to an agency so the agency can run it and they don't really need to think about it as much. Now you might be wondering, but Iman, I'm imagining paying $1,000 or $5,000 or even $10,000 per month for agency service, and it would just be so much money for me. Well, let me kind of squash that for you right now. You see, I just want to show you what the state of most business owners' expenses and this monthly expenses are like. You see, most businesses out there, they might make $100,000 a month revenue, and I'm literally talking about the restaurant, in the corner of the street. I'm not talking some huge business. I'm talking about the restaurant in the corner of the street, or maybe the clothing shop, on a high street, independent clothing shop. Their revenue monthly will probably be around $100,000. Their COGS, which basically means cost of goods sold, basically how much it made to, or how much it costs to actually create or produce the thing that they are selling. So for example, in a restaurant, the food they're actually selling, or for example with clothing, the actual clothing that they made, it might cost them $50,000 monthly, and apart from that, in terms of services, so for example merchant fees, stuff like that, merchant fees, cleaners, etc., other services, accounting services, etc., they might pay $15,000 a month in service fees. Employees, once again, they could easily pay $15,000 in terms of payroll tax, the actual employees themselves, etc., etc. Extras, if they buy equipment, etc., that could be another $5,000. So most businesses, or not most decently successful businesses out there are only making, are making $15,000 a month. They might be making $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month profit. But the key takeaway is that, they're used to making $100,000 a month and spending $85,000 a month in service fee. So my point with all this is most business owners are used to spending $10,000 to literally $1 million a month on expenses, right? These are the sorts of clients you're going to be dealing with. So you really think that $1,000 to $10,000 per month makes a dent in their pocket when you are a revenue-driven service, right? You're there to make them money, not lose them money. So to put things into perspective, sort of closer to home, I would never ever, although I make a good amount of money for sure, and a lot of you guys will know kind of how much we're doing monthly, I would never, or from my personal account, I would never ever fly business or first class. It just makes absolutely no sense for me, right? Because of the amount of tax I would have had to pay on that, that's net taxable income after taking money from my company, et cetera. Whereas, to fly business or first through the business, because that's an expense, I can justify that in certain scenarios, right? So that is kind of an example where, in a business owner's mind, if it is a business expense, which is what you are a business expense to them, right? You are just another line item on that expense sheet, and they're already used to spending so much on their expenses. So that's why a number like $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 a month service fee, depending on the size of the business, that doesn't sting as much as if it was coming from your personal account or my personal account, et cetera. So just remember that. Okay. And I also want to tell you about investments versus expenses. You see, an expense for a business owner is going to be something like an office cleaner or merchant fees, or, those are two examples right there. That's not money they're putting in and with the intention of getting more out. Whereas with an investment, that is something such as yourself, where the whole point is that they are either going to get more revenue out or more convenience out of you than they would have spent. So another example of an expense is employees, accountant, et cetera. So now I just quickly want to talk about the different approaches to agency structure. All right. And there's really 4 different approaches that I've observed over my years doing agency, having an agency and seeing other people grow their agency. Number 1 is the glorified contractor. All right. And we'll get onto these a little bit in more depth in just a second. But the first is the glorified contractor. The second is the ego agency. The third is, I call this the Gary V. And the fourth is the LMRD agency. So let's start with glorified contractor. Now let's talk about its use case and its place. All right. Now, unlike the 2 that I'm about to mention next, the glorified contractor model actually has some value, right? It has a place. So when you're first starting, you might need or want to deliver the services yourself, right? And you'll hear more about the Expedia business model later, which is what I believe is the best way to go about things. That said, some people won't want to bring on a contractor to deliver the services, the agency services that they sold, all right? Some will want to deliver the services themselves. And this puts you in sort of the glorified contractor role, because the thing is, you are the agency owner, but you're also the person delivering the services. And we'll see this in just a second. You see that, with this service delivery, with this approach, you're going to deliver the services yourself. And the issue with that is your focus is split, right? Your focus is split between signing new clients, getting your hands dirty with the actual client service delivery, the communication, and everything in between. And I've done this before. I've been through this phase before, and it's super stressful. I had my agency clocking in around $12,000 to $15,000 a month, and this is like 2 years ago. And I was just selling content creation services. So I was creating content for them. I was doing all the social media captions. Actually, no, that's a lie. Kieran, obviously, who's the product manager, he was doing all the social media captions. So him and I have actually been working, on and off for 2 years together. But I was creating the content, I was editing the content, Kieran was writing the captions, and then I was throwing it up. And that kind of made me the glorified contractor. Technically, yes, Kieran did do the captions, but that was one of the easier aspects of it, or sort of the less time intensive. These weren't super long captions. So, I went through that glorified contractor phase. And even, I ended up bringing Kieran on eventually, but for a long time, I was just doing it myself. And as I said, that just made me a glorified contractor. All right. Now, I see this a lot with different agency programs and stuff like that. They are just trying to make you the glorified contractor. You see, you are not an agency owner if you are selling the clients, lead sourcing the clients, selling the clients, or, closing the clients, delivering the services yourself, and doing everything in between. You being one person doesn't mean that you are an agency, right? So that's one thing you need to remember, is the fact that, it's not very sexy, or it's not very glamorous to be the Facebook ads expert and just do all the service delivery yourself, or be the email marketing expert and find the clients, sell the clients, deliver the services yourself, and do everything in between. It's not very sexy. Instead, you want to use what I call the Expedia business model that we're going to get onto in just a little bit. And once I implemented that, my agency just went through the roof. So let's get back into it. The ego agency. Now, here is the stone cold truth. The ego agency is the shocking state of all the agency owners out there that you think are successful, but they're really just the farthest thing from it. All right. And they really build this illusion for you, because with this approach, you have a fancy office, you have multiple employees, and you look like you're successful. In fact, you have all the recipes of what people think make a successful agency, but the honest truth is the cash flow. The truth is these agencies are doing, maybe $20,000 to $150,000 a month, which looks awesome. You're thinking, this expert, this guru is doing $20,000 a month, or $50,000 a month, or $100,000 a month from their agency, but their profit is zero. Or maybe, they're just doing $5,000 to $20,000 a month, and that, once again, that might sound good to you, but they're literally talking about margins of 1 to 10%. And, you might be thinking 1 to 10% as an agency owner. No, they must be an outlier. The funny thing is that this is the norm. In fact, ask any accountant and they'll tell you that their agency clients post profits of, anywhere from 1%, if they're not negative, to 15% max. So really, I'm telling you right now, a lot of the people you look at as experts, or a lot of people you look at as experts, or you think that they have super successful agencies, is because they have a nice office. They have 8 10 8 10 15 employees, and it looks like a successful business. Their cash flow is so appalling, and what I mean by that is their profit is terrible. You will literally, some of you in this process, or in fact I think most of you in this process, you can look at some of these people that you think have successful agencies that once again are doing 100,000 a month in revenue, but they're only doing 10,000 a month in profit. And you're gonna have 4 clients paying you 3,000 a month, and you as one person and maybe a contractor they use will make more money than a team of 8 employees, who make more than a team of 8 employees with a fancy office. And this founder of this agency that thinks they're super successful, but it's all ego numbers, right? It is all ego numbers, and they're just in a different world, in terms of their own self-image and stuff like that. And if you want a perfect example, once again, Kieran will tell you, Kieran, the product manager, he will tell you that, when he was working at Times Magazine, they were doing 400,000 pounds a month. 400,000 pounds a month, nearly 500 or over $500,000 a month. And they were struggling to be profitable. That should tell you everything you need to know about these ego agencies. So let's get into the next style of agency, and I call this the Gary V. And first things first, I mean absolutely no disrespect, right? I say this with full respect for the size of agency that Gary Vaynerchuk, and if you guys don't know who Gary V is, basically I'm referring to Gary Vaynerchuk, but I have full respect for the size of the agency that Gary V has created, but with pure disgust at the profit margin, and more importantly, I've seen a lot in terms of terrible client results and employee satisfaction. And here's the thing: Scale breaks these sorts of businesses. You see, these sorts of agencies that are the 20 plus employee agencies that usually offer 10 different services, all of which bring 0 results, and work with any client that comes to them. These businesses just totally break at scale. And that's why I have a lot of people, I'm the trusted advisor for a lot of people that come to me that are literally doing 100, 200, 300, 400,000 a month in their agency, and they have swanky offices and tons of employees. Yet my business and my agency, with just me working from home and one remote employee, makes way more profit than they do, right? And that's because they don't understand how to keep lean and efficient at scale. And the next thing is cash flow. You see, this business, the Gary V sort of agency, which is really, to me, these are the behemoth agencies, where they have 30, 40, 50, 100 employees plus. They hold similar resemblance to the ego agency in terms of just having horrific margins where, sometimes I even wonder, why is it even worth it to run these sorts of businesses? And lastly, confusion. You see, the worst part of these agencies is just the sheer confusion. No one knows what the hell is going on, what job they're meant to fulfill, or who they're actually serving. And once again, we can just look at the the executive product manager for GrowYourAgency.com, who's a coach. He'll even tell you himself, if you attend one of the live calls, he'll openly tell you and joke about it. Times Magazine, where he used to work, it was a shambles. In shambles, 30 odd employees, barely making any money, and no one really knew what they were doing. They were running around like headless chickens, trying to do this thing and that thing, etc., etc. So this is what I mean. You always want to avoid the ego agency and the Gary V agency. These are two models that you should not take pride in. You should not take pride in a business. Never ever look at your revenue and feel proud of yourself, right? You always want to look at your profit. Now, granted, there are months, even in my agency, basically, the margins always stay at 80 to 90%. But in GrowYourAgency.com, obviously the education business, very recently there have been months where we've made no money at all, even though we're making, multiple 6 and multiple 6 figures in revenue. And that's because that sort of business, or, this sort of business that you're seeing right now, this is my passion business. I don't mind not making money in my passion business for a little bit, because I have my agency to sustain the sort of lifestyle that I live, right? My agency is really my lifestyle business. It's my cash flow business. This, what you're seeing right now, my, GrowYourAgency.com, my online education business, this is something that I'm going to grow into a huge company, but it's a passion business for me. So that's why I'm fine, not making any profit for a couple months when, the goal is to scale from there. So I just kind of wanted to break down the difference between the different agency models, and also remember that, your agency should be a cash flow business. Never take pride in, having a high revenue with your agency, because that's not the goal. The goal of an agency isn't to, for example, sell it or to grow it, or I doubt for a lot of you guys love your clients that much that you're willing not to post any profits, aka make any money, simply because you have a passion for the agency world, right? Whereas say someone who has a tech company, or for example with me with my online education company, or someone who has a clothing company or meal delivery company, just because they have so much passion for the business and the impact they're making, they might be willing to not make money for a little bit, for the long-term success of the business, right? Whereas with the agency, I doubt, definitely for me at least, I don't have my agency as a pure passion business. For me, I have so much passion for the systems that go into it and just how fulfilling and rewarding it is as a business model. But at the end of the day, my agency is always a cash flow business, and it should be a cash flow business for you too. So just keep that in mind. Now, the next thing is LMRD agency. All right. So basically what LMRD stands for is lean, mean, results driven agency. This is the agency that I run personally and that I teach my students to run. And if you're in this course, you are in the top 1% of agency owners. As I said, all the experts, that you see in the field have ego agencies or Gary Vee agencies, or even worse, they've never even had agencies, and they're just guessing what it's like. Not many people have LMRD agencies, which is what you are going to have, and really what I refined through the past couple of years, which is just the only thing that I care about is getting incredible results for my clients and making sure that our margins are super high and we have incredible cash flow. That's really all I care about in my agency. And as I said, there is no one who's taken such a monastic, results-driven, and efficiency focus to their agency as me. Now, profit, as I said, in the past, my agency has made up to $95,000 in monthly revenue. And you want to know my profit in that month? This is October of 2018. We made $95,000. Do you want to know my profit? Circa $86,000 profit, right? I don't know many agencies or any agencies at all who make more actual profit than me. And once again, let me remind you, the revenue, if you make $120,000 a month in revenue and you're super proud of that, et cetera, let me remind you that revenue doesn't pay for a Ferrari or your dad's birthday gift. Profit does. So always focus on cash flow and profit. And the next thing is simplicity. You see, in my best months, I had a maximum of 7 retainer clients with 1 2-day training, right? So in that $95,000 a month, I had 7 retainer clients, so monthly clients, and I had 1 client that I came in and did that $20,000 two-day consulting. And I have 1 remote employee who lives in a different continent who does all of the service delivery. And in those months, I worked on average 4 to 5 hours a week only on my agency, with no fancy office, no networking dinners, and by offering just 1 service. Now, keep this in mind. In October and pretty much every single month, I only spend around 4 to 5 hours a week on my agency. Now, if my agency was my sole focus, which it probably should be, just because of the insane cash flow that comes from having an agency and how hands-off it can be. But if that was my sole focus and I didn't have this online education company taking so much of my money, resources, and time, then obviously I'd be working more than 4 to 5 hours a week. But really, I just want to show you that it's possible to be making $20, $30, $40, $50, $60, $70,000 a month profit just by working 4 to 5 hours a week. Now, granted, it took me 2 years to get there. It wasn't like that from the beginning, right? And I'm not the biggest fan of passive income and just set it and forget it. I don't really believe in that. But when you put in the right systems in place, you really can be making 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000, $100,000 a month just by working 4 to 5 hours a week, by using the Expedia business model, using all the systems and structures that you're going to learn in this course. All right. So for, most of you guys out there, I don't recommend that you work 4 to 5 hours a week. As I said, that's just because, this online education company is so energy and money hungry. That's really the only reason why. So here is another printout for you. Focus on being successful, not inflating your ego. While other agency owners hold back the tears in their swanky office filled with 8 employees, no structure, and terrible client satisfaction, we'll be enjoying our profits and pride with the LMRD agency. So just remember that, a lot of the, I sound like a broken record, but a lot of these quote unquote successful agencies, the agency owner is literally crying, after hours, holding back tears in their swanky office, filled with 8 employees because they are so hungry, right? And I don't mean that in a good way. They are hungry because their business, it makes revenue, but they have nothing to take out of the business and enjoy themselves. A lot of these business owners of these agencies, they can't even take their family away on a holiday because their business, they built this Gary Vee or this ego agency where, they've grown it, it looks successful, but it doesn't actually bring anything added or bring zero added value to their life. So as I said, while they can go ahead and they can look successful, we are actually going to go ahead and be successful with the LMRD agency. Now, what I want to do very quickly is just crunch the numbers. So here is the math to 6 figures with your agency. So you need to be making a monthly profit of roughly $8,333.33. Some months will be higher and some months will be lower, obviously. Now, the average retainer in your first year, really won't be less than $2,000 a month. You see, some of your first clients might be $1,000 or $1,500 a month, but then you're going to start getting into $2,500, $3,500, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month territory, right? But let's just say very conservatively, in your first 12 months, your average retainer, aka, as I said, some of your first clients might only be $1,500 or they might be $2,000, and some of your later clients, as you're 9 months or 10 months or 12 months into your first year with an agency, they might be closer to 4, 5, 6,000. So this is a very conservative number, is this average monthly retainer. But let's just say it's $2,000 a month. Your average retention, now once again, keep in mind that we are doing 3-month minimums, and I'm going to show you how to interlace this into the contract and how to actually pitch this to the clients so that it's actually a benefit to them. But we want to be doing we're going to be doing a 3-month minimum. So that means whenever we sign a client, they're going to be staying on for a minimum of 3 months. Now, the better you get, the longer clients will stay with you. So, they'll stay with you no longer than 3 months, but some might stay with you for a year or 9 months or 7 months or 6 months. So probably in the first year, you're just finding your feet. You're going to get better every single year. And that's one of the things I love about having an agency is every year, it doesn't matter, what the economy is like, what the market is like. Every company needs marketing, and the best companies, they know that and they assign the right budget to it. So every year your retainers go up, your consulting fees go up. You can start charging, even in your first year, you can start charging $5,000 for a 2-day training for you to come in and skill transfer some of your knowledge with potential clients that, you don't actually want to sign as a monthly retainer because, they might not be the right fit, etc. So in your first year, you're probably going to be averaging around 5 months. That's probably going to be your average retention. And obviously that'll go, that'll be higher the more, the longer you actually run your agency. So the average lifetime value of a client, so obviously if the average retainer is $2,000 a month and they're staying on average 5 months, then that means that their average lifetime value is $10,000. Now, clients needed in a year, if you want to make 100K in your first year, you just need 10 clients using those numbers. So in 365 days, you only need to sign 10 clients to make a predicted $100,000. You see, 6 figures is such a huge number. And if we break that down, that is 1 client every 36 days on average. 6 figures is such a huge number for people. Some people think that making 6 figures is this astronomical achievement. And to be honest, when I first got started in business, I even kind of thought that, to be honest, I had bigger and bigger ambitions, and I knew what was possible for my agency. And I knew that I could, I could easily clear 20, 30, 40, 50, 60K a month for my agency. I knew that was possible. But nonetheless, even I kind of had this nostalgia towards making $100,000 or 6 figures. But you see, it's so easy with the agency model, right? Now, obviously, if you don't put in the work and you don't follow this course step by step, and you don't, if you need the support, you don't use the support systems I built, obviously it's not going to be easy. But just taking some very conservative numbers, I've shown you how using the LTV of a client, you just need 10 clients. And to kind of drill that down further, you just need a client on average every 36 days, right? How crazy is that? So to make this elusive six figures that most people, go to Harvard to get an MBA to try to make six figures, or most people become a doctor or a lawyer and straight out of college, they can't even make six figures, right? They're gonna have to wait 4, 5, 6, maybe even 10 years to make six figures, right? So this elusive six figures, 100K a year mark, you can literally make that in your first year using some very conservative numbers just by signing a client every 36 days. How insane is that? So, as I said, those are low estimated numbers, and most people actually exceed those predictions. Once again, you can see Mariah right here. Her one client pays her nearly $12,000 per month on average. All right, so her one client alone is going to ensure that she makes roughly 150K, and obviously, that client might, stay on less or more, et cetera, but she actually does a breakdown right below. You can see that she started her journey with SMA on September 15th. She actually joined Six Figure SMA, which was basically the old name for Agency Incubator. So she started her SMA journey on September 15th. By October 1st, it took her 2 weeks to complete the entirety of the old course. This one will definitely take you, probably take you a little longer, or quite a decent amount longer. And within 2 weeks, she finished the course, and within 30 days, she signed her first client. And within 2 months, she hit six figures yearly. So she was making $8,300 monthly. And now, 4.5 months into the process, she's making $20,000 per month. And most importantly, with 85% profit margins. She goes on to say, I started with dropshipping and Amazon FBA over 2 years ago. And from my personal experience, I can 100% vouch that SMA business model is the easiest. She also goes on to mention the profit margins for the SMA model are insanely good compared to my other two business models. So here's an example of a student, Mariah, who literally signed one client and is making more than six figures just from that one client alone. And as I said, within 4.5 months, she was making $20,000 a month, which equates to $250,000 a year, right? With incredible profit margins. From that $250,000, probably taking home around $210,000. And you can see Brandon right here. He actually went ahead and I remember this was within his first 30 days of actually joining the program. He signed he had one meeting, and he actually managed to sign 4 dental locations, and each dental location paid him $4,000 in retainer. He went on to say student debt will soon be gone. He also goes on to say, this moment means the world to me. My grandparents sacrificed their retirement for me to attend college, and I'm creating an opportunity to repay their sacrifice. Iman, if you see this, I want you to know that you are a blessing to my life, and I cannot thank you enough. Now, real quick, the reason I show you these testimonials and I kind of interlace these student success in between these modules every now and then, and I'm going to do this more at the beginning, you won't see much of this later on in the program, it's just because I want to show you what is possible. I want you to get your mind right, and most importantly, I want to back up any claims that I make, right? Any sort of claims that I make, or expectations I set for you, you might be thinking, man, that's crazy, or that's not realistic. I want to really back up any of those claims just to show you what it's like. Now, moving on, this is really going to be your agency journey. So, you're probably going to start off, as a glorified contractor, and you might make anywhere from $20,000 to $75,000 a year being a glorified contractor. And hopefully for most of you, you're going to kind of skip the glorified contractor phase and just bring on a contractor onto your team. And when you do that, obviously you can make more money from the onset. So that's kind of that beginning phase. So after you move on from the glorified contractor phase, that's kind of where you become a boutique agency. And that's really where you're making anywhere from, $6,000 to $12,000 a year $6,000 to $12,000 a month is where you're a boutique agency. You have one service you're offering. More than likely, you have a contractor that you're working with that actually gets the results for the clients, and you have one niche that you work with. Now, after that is where you're actually going to move into the next phase, which is lean, mean, results-driven agency. And we've already gone ahead and talked about this, but that's really where you've got an agency that is just so operationally sound and efficient, and you've just got things ticking over and working so incredibly well. And the phase above that is niche domination. And this is really where you get to the point where my agency is at, where just things are flowing so well operationally. You've got a consistent way of bringing in leads, some through organic and some through paid. So actually using Facebook advertising to bring people in through a case study funnel and basically just get leads on autopilot and clients on autopilot, as well as using a couple different mediums. But we'll get onto this in a little bit. But as I said, this is what the normal agency journey looks like for someone. And this is sort of the pattern that we faced with Six Figure SMA, and having more than 1,000 students in 12 months through that program, and now with Agency Incubator as well. And Agency Incubator, which is obviously this program you're in, this program is going to teach you how to basically go from zero or wherever you are right now to making six figures. And there's a lot of people, you can even see it with Six Figure SMA. That program was designed to take people from 0 to 6 figures, yet there's plenty of people in that who are making 50, 60, 20, 30K a month. There were a couple people in there even doing 7 figures. So that doesn't mean that this program will only take you to, 10K a month or 15K a month or 20K a month, but this program really is designed to take you from where you are right now at 0 or 2 or 5 and really make sure that you solidify yourself or you make it a hygiene standard to make 10 to 15K a month consistently while working less, working with better clients, and as I said, just having such a operationally sound agency. Now, the next phase, where you're going from 15 to 100K a month while also keeping incredible profit margins, that is covered in the higher tier program, which is called Copy Paste Agency. Now, the people who are in Copy Paste Agency, that is really for people who are set on making 7 figures, right? Or at least getting into the high multi 6-figure range, right? And that's where they want to do that by That's where they want to do that by having such a good team and being able to train the team, and also having a way to bring in automated leads and automated clients through the door using different mediums. Once again, as I said, organic and paid. So that is the higher end program. A lot of people who go through, or a lot of people who went through Six Figure SMA graduated to Copy Paste Agency. They decided to get into the higher level program to get more support from me, the expert coaches, and get training that's, if we look at Agency Incubator or Six Figure SMA, even 10 times more than that in terms of how advanced it is and how far apart it sets you from the rest of the agencies. So that's really sort of the agency journey summed up. But look, you are inside Agency Incubator right now. So wherever stage you're at, we're going to take your agency from where it is to, just a level that you couldn't even imagine. So let's get back into it. Now, the action step for today is I want you to create a Google Drive folder, call it Agency Incubator, and put the last action steps doc in there, and then write out 2+ paragraphs on what your dream agency looks like. So remember, I've given you a couple of different action steps thus far. So make sure you create that Google Drive folder called Agency Incubator, and in that put week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6, week 7, week 8. And for example, for this week in there, you're gonna have last week's action step, or last week's, which I believe should be the paradigm to carry through. So you're gonna go ahead and put that Google Doc in there, as well as any other Google Docs that we've created thus far. And then you're gonna create a new Google Doc. And what you wanna do is just write out 2 paragraphs or so on what your dream agency looks like. Now, when I say dream agency, by that I mean, how many hours a week do you want to work on your agency? How much money do you want to make from your agency? Do you want, like, for example, with me, I tried the digital nomad lifestyle. I went to Bali for 2 months, lived in Bali for 2 months, and it was a great sort of lifestyle. But, I prefer running my agency from here in London. That's just kind of what I like. And I like working more rather than less, right? And I know that I'm happy with my agency making around $500,000 to $600,000 a month. A month would be awesome, but $500,000 to $600,000 a year profit. I'm happy with my agency making that amount of money. Now, obviously, as I said, if I went all in on my agency and I just scrapped the online education business, which is really the main thing that drains my time, energy, effort, then I would want to take my agency to 2-3 million a year profit while still staying lean and efficient. So really just take the time out, create that Google Doc, and in 2 paragraphs, just write, what does your dream agency look like? How much does it make? Who does it serve? What sort of clients do you work with? And also, where in the world do you work and what is your work schedule like? So hope you enjoyed this module, and I'll see you in the next one.